is so much fun. Here comes Andy Pandy in Andy Pandy Land.
One morning, Andy Pandy took his football to Tiffo's house. They were having a great game. Then Andy Pandy gave the ball a really hard kick. It went like a rocket and Tiffo followed it. Looby Loo was hard at work in her garden when it arrived. She hadn't been expecting it at all. And she certainly hadn't been expecting a galumphing Tiffo. Looby Loo didn't like people playing games in her flower bed. Tiffo said he was sorry. Andy Pandy said it was his fault. Anyway, it was just lucky that her flower bed had no flowers in it. Ah, but it soon would have. Looby Loo had been planting seeds that would grow into flowers, just so long as the birds didn't eat the seeds first. Andy Pandy told Tiffo that there were no birds around just now, and he knew just the very way to make sure that the birds wouldn't come and eat Looby Loo's seeds when she wasn't looking. Andy Pandy said he'd be back later with a special bird scarer. When he got home, Andy Pandy went to his special cupboard. There he found 2 lengths of wood, some strong glue, a piece of cord, an old pair of gloves, and a rather moth-eaten jacket. Then he got to work. He put glue on one of the pieces of wood. Then, when he'd stuck the other piece to it, he made sure that the join was good and strong by tying the pieces together. Then he went back to Looby Loo's house to finish the job. When Andy Pandy got there, he asked Looby Loo if she had an old pillowcase and something to stuff it with. Looby Loo said she had. She'd been making cushions for her sofa a few days ago and still had quite a lot of the stuffing left. Soon Andy Pandy had stuffed the pillowcase. Andy Pandy still had a bit of cord left over, and he tied the pillowcase onto the wooden cross. It looked like a head. He put the jacket and the gloves on too. Now it was beginning to look like, well, a scarecrow, which is what they had made. Looby Loo said the scarecrow ought to have eyes and a mouth. The buttons would make lovely eyes, and the felt would give their scarecrow a great big smile. Now their scarecrow was finished. Well, almost finished. Looby Loo said that it needed a final touch, an old hat. That ought to keep the birds away from Looby Loo's seeds. Then Looby Loo remembered she'd asked Teddy and Andy Pandy for tea. She'd been so busy making the scarecrow she'd quite forgotten. While Looby Loo was making tea for them all, Andy Pandy said he'd show the scarecrow where it lived. The sun was beginning to set as Andy Pandy put the scarecrow in the flower bed. Teddy was hungry, and he was so looking forward to his tea that he didn't see Andy Pandy or the scarecrow. Looby Loo had made them a delicious tea. Teddy particularly liked the sausages on sticks. He'd eaten 26. Looby Loo thought 26 was quite enough sausages for one day, so he had some cake instead. When they'd finished eating, Teddy noticed it was getting dark. It was getting late, nearly bedtime. "Too late to help with the washing up?" asked Andy Pandy, but Teddy pretended he hadn't heard. When Teddy saw the scarecrow, he didn't know who it was, but he didn't like the look of it at all. In fact, the longer he looked at it, the scareder he got. So scared that he just had to run for help. "Help!" shouted Teddy. He told them there was someone lurking in Looby Loo's flower bed. Andy Pandy and Looby Loo knew what had scared Teddy. Andy Pandy told Teddy not to worry. He'd been scared by the scarecrow. If the scarecrow could scare Teddy, said Looby Loo, then it would certainly keep the birds off her seeds. And as he was back in her house, perhaps now Teddy could help with the washing up?